5. The Jameson family. The first case on our list is extremely strange and still remains unexplained over 6 years later. The Jameson family, which consisted of Bobby, his wife Sherilyn, and their 6-year-old daughter Madison, went missing on October 8th of 2009. The Jamesons had decided that they wanted to move out of their lakefront property to make a fresh start in a new area. The family traveled 30 miles from their home near Eufaula to a rural area in Oklahoma in hopes of buying a 40-acre plot of land. They drove their white pickup truck to the isolated Sandboy Mountains, but never returned. On October 16th, the family's abandoned vehicle was found on the side of the road by a Latimer County sheriff. Inside the locked truck were the Jamesons' wallets, IDs, cell phones, a GPS system, and around $32,000 in cash, and even the daughter's beloved dog, who was on the edge of starvation. Police quickly launched a huge search operation, but found nothing. It wasn't until over 4 years later when they discovered the family's skeletal remains around 3 miles from where the truck was abandoned. An autopsy was performed, but the remains were in such a bad state that a cause of death could not be determined. On the day before the disappearance, security cameras from their home caught the Jamesons as they loaded up their truck. Investigators claim that the pair looked as if they were in a trance-like state, walking from the house to the truck over 20 times without speaking to each other once. The Jamesons were very thin and emaciated around the time that they went missing, which has led to theories that the pair were hooked on crystal meth. However, police found no drugs or drug paraphernalia in the home. Months prior to the disappearance, the Jamesons had become very paranoid and told some of their friends and family that their house was haunted and explained that they had seen spirits. Bobby even informed a pastor of the spirits and had asked whether he could obtain special bullets to shoot them. The Jamesons had suffered with depression throughout their lives, and Sherilyn had also suffered from bipolar disorder. The photo of 6-year-old Madison was taken in the mountains and was found on Bobby's cell phone inside the truck and is believed to be the last ever picture taken of her. Family members have said that they don't believe that Bobby or Sherilyn took the photo, as Madison isn't looking towards the camera and she appears to look terrified. There are many theories surrounding the case, from the family getting lost, abduction, occult sacrifice, and even the cartel killing them through murder-suicide. However, over 6 years later, nobody is any closer to knowing what really happened on that day. Number 4. Madeline McCann. In late April of 2007, Kate and Jerry McCann went on a holiday to Portugal with their 3 young children and a group of their friends. At 10:14 p.m. on Thursday of May 3rd, 3-year-old Madeline McCann was reported missing. Portuguese police received a call claiming that the 3-year-old British girl had been abducted. Earlier that night, around 7 p.m., the McCanns put their children to bed. They say that all 3 were asleep around 8:30 p.m. They then left the apartment and met up with 7 of their friends for dinner at a tapas bar 50 yards across the pool from their apartment. The McCanns say that they checked in with the kids every half hour to make sure that they were safe. At around 9:05 p.m., Jerry McCann made his way to the ground floor apartment in the Praia de Luz. He says all the children were still asleep and Madeline was still in her bed. At 9:30 p.m., one of the McCanns' friends, Dr. Matthew Oldfield, checked on the children. He claims that the McCanns' bedroom door was wide open, but as he heard no noise, he left without looking far enough into the room to see whether Madeline was in bed. At 10 p.m., Kate McCann checked the apartment, and she says that she noticed that the children's door was open wider than she had remembered it being. When she entered the room, she claims that the window shutter and curtains were wide open and that Madeline was no longer in bed. Kate quickly returned to the tapas bar where she had begun screaming that someone had taken her daughter. At 10:30 p.m., the resort activated its missing child search protocol, where 60 staff and guests, and later police, searched the resort throughout the night. In the first 24 hours of the investigation, many mistakes were made by the police, one being the crime scene was not fully secured, meaning around 20 people entered the apartment before it was closed off, contaminating any potential evidence. The McCanns quickly became suspects by the Portuguese police, as they didn't buy their story and couldn't believe that they had left their children unattended. They theorized that there had been a tragic accident and the parents had hid Madeline's body and staged the abduction scene. Although they were suspects, Kate and Jerry were allowed to leave Portugal and return to the UK in September of 2007. After a long investigation, in July of 2008, Portugal's Attorney General closed the case and the McCanns were no longer being treated as suspects. In 2013, a BBC show called Crime Watch showed the full reconstruction of the night in question and released digital photos of a man that was spotted by Mary and Martin Smith from Ireland after they told police they had saw a mysterious male carrying a child, matching Madeline's description at around 10 p.m., 500 yards from the McCann's apartment. They said that he was walking towards the beach, did not look like a tourist, and did not seem comfortable carrying the child. The show also released digital footage of a group of people that were spotted near the McCann's apartment on and around the day of the disappearance. Scotland Yard have theorized that Madeline may have disturbed a burglary. Unfortunately, there haven't been many other leads, but nearly 9 years later, the McCanns still remain hopeful that Madeline is alive and will be found. The case still remains open. Number 3. Stephen Kocher. On December 13th of 2009, 30-year-old Stephen Kocher went missing from Henderson, Nevada. A clean-cut, well-respected, church-going man, Stephen decided to take an unexplainable road trip from his home state of Utah to his final destination of Nevada. Stephen's car was found in a dead-end cul-de-sac, and he was shortly reported missing. Surveillance footage shows him parking his car, leaving it there, and walking out of the frame. In this footage, he is alone and appears to be walking as if he has a destination in mind. When his car was discovered, some of his belongings were still inside, including Christmas presents which he had purchased a few days prior, as well as blankets and pillows. Items missing from the car included Stephen's cell phone, his wallet, passport, and his driver's license. For 2 days after his disappearance, his cell phone signal was picked up by a signal tower several miles from his car. It is unknown why Stephen was making cell phone calls near this tower, where exactly he was, and if it was indeed Stephen making these calls. His family isn't sure why he left Utah with no apparent cause for disappearance other than some financial concerns. Some have speculated that Stephen may have gone to Nevada to look for a job or to try to hand out flyers to advertise a window washing business. Stephen is a devout Mormon and due to his religious beliefs does not drink alcohol or take any drugs. Suicide is not suspected, and no signs of foul play have ever been discovered. The case remains open and is still unsolved. Number 2. Timothy J. Pitson. On the day of the disappearance, on the morning of May 11th of 2011, Amy Joan Marie Fry Pitson traveled to the Greenman Elementary School and removed her only child from class and checked him out of school. From there, Amy and her 6-year-old son, Timothy J. Pitson, began their unexpected 3-day road trip. Their first stop was the Brookfield Zoo in Illinois. After that, they traveled to the Key Lime Cove Resort, where they had spent the night. Timothy's father, James Pitson, reported his wife and son missing as soon as he went to collect his boy from school and found out his wife had already taken him out, which he had found strange. The next day, Amy and Timothy traveled to the Kalahari Water Park Resort in Wisconsin Dells. Surveillance from the water park the next morning shows them both waiting in line to check out. Shortly after, at around 1:30 p.m., Amy called several of her family members and friends and explained that her and Timothy were both fine. At 7:25 p.m., Amy went to the Family Dollar store in Winnebago, Illinois, where she purchased stationery. She then traveled to the nearby Sullivan's Foods, where she was spotted once again on a security camera. This time, however, there was no sign of Timothy. Her final journey was at around 11:15 p.m., where she checked into Rockford Inn in Rockford, Illinois. The next day, at 12:30 p.m., she was found dead by the inn's employees. She had taken her own life by ingesting an overdose of antihistamines and had slit her wrists. Amy left a suicide note and had sent 2 letters to loved ones in the mail which claimed that Timothy was safe and was taken somewhere where he would be well cared for. She also wrote that no one will ever find him and that she can't take the risk of Jim hurting Tim because of her choices. Timothy's Spider-Man backpack, toys, and clothing were all missing, as well as the clothes Amy was wearing when she had checked out from the Kalahari Resort. Amy's mother said that she had suffered from depression, but she was not a crazy person and never acted bizarrely. Timothy still remains missing as of February 2016. Number 1. Kaylin Louder. 30-year-old Kaylin Louder went missing around 7 p.m. on September 27th of 2014. The circumstances in which she disappeared are very bizarre. In the morning, Louder had called 911, claiming that someone had broken into her condo in Murray, Utah, and believed the intruder was still in the house. She went on to say that she didn't see anyone, but had heard them talking. During the call, Louder yelled several times for the intruder to leave. Police investigated the report, but found no evidence to suggest a break-in had occurred. Later that same day, Louder was caught on surveillance camera walking barefoot in the rain outside of her condo with her dog. Police believe she appears to have an animated conversation. At 7 p.m., for an unknown reason, Louder began to run. She left her dog, her phone, money, keys, and her car behind. This is the last time she was seen alive. Louder's mother has said in a statement that she spoke to her daughter that day and she seemed fine. Her cousin claims that she was cleaning her condo that day and was working on her resume, as she had just been let go from her job as a social worker. Her family hired a private investigator to help with the search, and 2 months after her disappearance, on November 30th, Louder's body was discovered in the Jordan River in Utah, 5 miles from her home. An autopsy was performed but could not determine how she had died. A toxicology report confirmed that there was nothing fatal or illegal in her system. Louder's family say that they suspect foul play and do not believe that the death was an accident, as she had no history of mental illness. However, investigators disagree because the 911 call she made on September 27th was not the first time she had made a false claim. The previous day, she had reported a fight at a wedding that didn't happen, which had led them to believe she was showing delusional behavior. No one truly knows what happened to Kaylin Louder after she had left her condo that day. Her family is still searching for answers. Thanks so much for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, please let me know by clicking the like button, share, and write a comment. And don't forget to subscribe so that you can check out my next video.